Bad news. Dr. Paul Krugman, Nobel laureate Paul Krugman, New York Times lead author Paul Krugman, a man enthralled. Janet Yellen will be the next Secretary of the United States Treasury, excluding the improbable. Mr. Biden confirmed the gossip today. Here's the good doctor who screams of joy, Krugman. It's hard to overstate the enthusiasm among economists over Joe Biden's selection of Janet Yellen as the next Secretary of the Treasury. Some of this enthusiasm reflects the groundbreaking nature of her appointment. She won't just be the first woman to hold the job. She will be the first person to have held all three of the traditional top U.S. policy positions in economics. Chair of the Council of Economic Advisers, Chair of the Federal Reserve, and now Treasury Secretary. However, no editorial by Paul Krugman would be complete without the president's harsh condemnation. And yes, there is a bit of payback for Donald Trump, who denied her a well-earned second term as Fed chair, reportedly in part because he thought she was too short. That Mr. Trump overthrew the lady because of her height? We get permission to doubt this. Jerome Powell, not the beanstalk. The man stands 6 feet high. However, doctor, it's not politics that Krugman is an ecstatic teardrop today, because Miss Yellen acknowledged her profession as a worthy one, rather than largely voodoo. But the good news about Yellen goes beyond her ridiculously distinguished career in public service. Before she held office, she was a serious researcher, and she was in particular one of the leading figures in an intellectual movement that helped save macroeconomics as a useful discipline when that usefulness was under both external and internal assault. The problem of being a serious economics researcher. Ms. Yellen could actually be a serious researcher. This is probably the problem. The woman takes her research very seriously, like a show clown who takes show clown science very seriously. He can't see his research into what is happening. A fun hobby, a fascinating pastime, an uplifting pastime, a little more. Reality is constantly out of reach, and even way beyond your grasp. Generally, as things go, economic research is intellectual self-censorship. It is the selective collection of cherries. It is a focused search for belief-confirming data. A worthy hobby is to case and groom a horse. With the help of powerful subliminal filters, all contradictory data glides through the dragnet. Ms. Yellen, for example, held firm belief in the so-called Phillips curve, broken model. Phillips curve suggests a negative relationship between unemployment and inflation. That is, low unemployment means high inflation. Meanwhile, high unemployment equates to low inflation. Yet, Jim Rickards led Mr. Phillips to question, and his famous curve recovered under Jim's brutal anger. Yellen's a labor economist with a strong statistical bent. She believes in false models such as the Phillips curve, which posits an inverse relationship between low unemployment and higher inflation. No such relationship exists. In the late 1970s, we had high inflation and high unemployment. From 2009 to 2016, we had low inflation and high unemployment. In the late 1980s, we had low unemployment and low inflation. There were reasons for all of these episodes, but the Phillips curve had no explanatory or predictive power. Still, Janet Yellen used it as a guide for her failed monetary policies at the Fed. The delusional world of mainstream economists. The economy is a gigantic industrial age machine for the waiting Treasury Minister and others like him. With proper repair, with the involvement of suitable technicians, this mechanical mechanism can work continuously with full throbbing. Reluctant, hesitant, indifferent, high-test fuel is entering. Is there any danger of overheating? Pump the coolant. Does it require lubricant? There's a lot of oil on hand. Is he mumbling, whispering, spreading alarming clans? You just need to adjust this dial, turn that knob, pull that arm, tighten this screw, loosen it up. If you need guidance, refer to the instruction manual originally prepared by Mr. John M. Keynes. You will find your solution there. In this clockwork world, the standard economist lives, but that world has no real existence. A deliberate, capricious, chaotic, and unpredictable delusion. The United States economy is not a machine. This is a deliberate, capricious, chaotic, and unpredictable riot of dizzying complexity. It will not easily surrender to mechanical impact. It will not be easily controlled or fixed. Try to herd the wild cats as well. Put aside the year of 2020 plague. Consider the previous 10 years of economic expansion. In every 10 years, the economy has not grown by 3%. This is despite a heavy monetary rainfall in which trillions and trillions of dollars have fallen. By contrast, the average of all other expansions since 1980, on average 3.21% annual growth. Therefore, we must conclude that the Federal Reserve provided little real economic impact. This is a punk, a 10-finger fool, a helpless giant. Biden's economy team. Janet Yellen is not Mr. Biden's only candidate. It establishes an economic war council consisting of respected and tested, groundbreaking public servants who will help the communities hardest hit by COVID-19 and address the structural inequities in our economy. We anticipated that Ms. Yellen's experience as head of the Federal Reserve could improve the coordination of fiscal and monetary policy. But for what purpose? Setting the stage for modern money theory discusses the aforementioned Jim Rickards. Biden's economic policies will be heavily influenced by the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party. The main economist for Bernie Sanders and his ilk is Stephanie Kelton, a professor at the State University of New York and the leading theorist of modern monetary theory. Oh yes, MMT. Can you please summarize MMT, Jim? MMT says that the US can spend as much as it wants, borrow to cover the deficits and monetize the debt with Fed money printing. One of the keys to MMT is to treat the Treasury and the Fed as a single entity with a single balance sheet. That's not legally true, but MMT insists that government can operate as if it were. This means merging Treasury and Fed operations into single one engine for spending, borrowing, and printing. Is this unification of monetary and fiscal policy the real purpose of Yellen's Treasury nomination? What better way to achieve that merger than to appoint the former Fed head as the new Treasury head with her former deputy still in place back at the Fed? Multi-trillion-dollar deficit spending plans will emerge soon from the new Congress. Treasury will spend money. The Fed will buy the Treasury debt with newly printed money. The US will go broke, and a clueless Janet Yellen will supervise the entire operation. Good and the difficult. Jim's story lifts the air and freezes the blood. Is this the economic future of America? The American people are getting the economic team they need and deserve, says Mr. Biden's Vice President, Kamala Harris. We are far from believing that we have the economic team the American people need. However, assuming this month's election was not spoiled fraudulently, we could get the economic team we deserve. And a cabbage H.L. Mencken's promise, we deserve to take it well and hard. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.